Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to another episode of Conversations with Cornelius. I'm your host, Cornelius Patrick O'Sullivan, and today I am in a very, very unusual venue for the podcast.
Not the John Hume Raw Room, not the Good Room, not the Kitch.
Not the kitch. We're out of the gaff and we're above in my grandmother's house in Douglas in Cork. And I am joined by a very special guest. The longest term listener. I've listened to every single episode of Conversations with Cornelius, both main platform and Patreon. He calls himself a P1, which stands for what?
P1 means it's the priority. It's like it came about from the radio stations in cars when you had your preset buttons. The P1 was your favourite station. P2 would be your second, P3 and so on and so forth. But so I'm P1 of Conversation with Cornelius. The minute I get a notification, I have to listen to it. And I could be sitting on the toilet, Connie, sorry about that, or I could be eating a cheeseburger in Dallas.
You're kind of the Elvis lifestyle here now, eating a cheeseburger.
Conversation with Cornelius is a priority every week. And since I had my stroke, it's become part of my therapy every week now to listen to and the great Queen, of course, he's sidekick.
You'll be devastated to know that I'm discontinuing the podcast.
Oh, for God's sakes. I'm going into relapse.
Yeah, my Uncle Mike, he's been on the podcast before. He's a couple of episodes. If you stroll back through I think we're nearly
a year and a half ago.
Is it a year and a half ago?
Yeah.
I don't know what number it is, but we're approaching episode 200 anyway. And
it was right around episode 80, I think, or close to it.
And it was a very well listened and very well liked episode. And if you do enjoy today's episode and you're new to the podcast, skip back to that afterwards, and you'll get a fuller feel for the legend that is Mr.
And don't forget to click on the Patreon button down below, and for $5 a month, guys, the price of a pint, for fuck's sake, get off your haunches, reach into your wallet, $5, put your debit card out there on Patreon and support this man.
Well, look, listen, he's not wrong. He's not wrong. He's not wrong. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage my favourite patron by a country mile, but I still need all the rest of you to stay there, okay? And more to join. And my favourite uncle, one of the loves of my life, Michael O'Sullivan.
I know, and I've been saving this one for a year and a half now, Con, but you say that I brought you through some dark times in your life, but you seem to forget the time I almost killed you.
When did you nearly kill me?
Well, it was back in, I'd say, 82, maybe 83. J.C. O'Sullivan from Newmarket, or the car dealership in Newmarket, and we had a satellite sales office in Mallow, and your dad was running that.
Oh, I remember.
And
that.
I used to run cars back and forth from Newmarket to Mallow, cars that were in for service and stuff that were sold in Mallow, and we'd run them back to the market. But you were going back to Nana. I think you were going back to spend the day with Nana, and John your dad put you in the car with me.
And of course you had the seat and everything, had you?
No, you were sitting in the centre console.
Okay.
Nothing but a windshield to block you from death, but I would kill you on the way out anyway.
All right, may as well go out with a bang.
And there was another guy with us, Tom Toomey. I don't know if you remember.
I remember Tom Toomey. He had a moustache. Did he have a Stetson?
No, but he was a wannabe trucker, wannabe cowboy.
Yeah.
And
big blondie hair.
Yes.
Yeah.
Bleach blonde type stuff.
And like, yeah, he was a big tall fella.
Yeah,
I remember him.
tall
Tom
fella
Toomey.
for Irish standards.
Yeah.
But anyways, we were driving back to the market, on the Mallow Road, just beyond the race course. Now there used to be a stretch of road that was narrower than the rest,
where the trees
were overgrown. It was like going through a tunnel, and we forgot something. I forgot something. They had to go out some paperwork or something that I had to take to the market. So I decided we need to go back, and we weren't gone that far, so it was easy enough to get around. But rather than do the normal thing of pull up in the driveway and back out, I said, let's do the handbrake turn.
And I was in the centre console.
You were in the centre console between Tom and myself.
Right.
And Tom's window was open. Because it was a nice day. It must have been in the summertime. And anyway, I slowed down, what I thought would be a nice speed to do the handbrake turn, because that was the easiest way to get pointed back in the right direction. pulled the handbrake, spun around, centrifugal force sent you flying out the window.
Out the window.
Oh, almost out complete. Tom grabbed you. He lobster clawed you as you were going past him out the window.
Fuck.
Your head would have been out definitely. You were heading for the ditch.
I crashed on that road years later. I had a car crash on that road.
Well, you almost died on it.
Jesus.
But anyway, he lobster clawed you and got you back in. And I still have nightmares about that one because I
Jesus, man, you've
wouldn't
never
know
told me
how-
that story.
I wouldn't know how I'd be able to make that phone call to your dad or your mum.
That'll be a tough one.
They
might
lost
be.
Connie.
Yeah.
Where is he? Oh, he's in the ditch there between Mallow and
No, we just
Kendra.
lost him. He's not dead. We just lost him.
He might be still alive, but he's laying down somewhere now.
Jesus, that's a memory. We've just been in the kitchen before we were getting set up for this. Noelle is here, ladies and gentlemen. She's in the background. The beautiful producer, the queen of the podcast, was setting up the equipment, and myself and Mike and my grandmother, Nana, as I refer to her, were sitting down, and we were having the most unrehearsed, beautiful conversation of the past.
Oh, yes.
And we were having tea. Well, we were having coffee. You and I were having coffee, and Nana was having tea, and she was smoking a fag, and I was like, isn't this pure quintessential Irish now? Sitting inside drinking tea and mugs of coffee and talking about the past, and an impromptu sing-song broke out. This has only happened like 10 minutes ago, like 15 minutes ago, and you and Nana were singing a song about that my late Uncle Niall had sung in hospital years ago. It was a really cool, quaint story. But will you sing the song?
Would you like to hear?
Yeah.
Okay, it is an old trad song. Goodbye, Mershon Durkin. Sure, I'm sick and tired of working. No longer digging praties, no longer I'll be told. And sure as my name is Carney, I'll be off to California. Instead of digging praties, I'll be digging lumps of gold.
You.
Yeehaw! Woo!
That's it, pal. That's it. Yeah.
That's all I know. There may be another verse, but I don't know it.
Email us in at corneliusthecomic@gmail.com if there's another verse to that song.
And
Thank
don't
you.
forget to click on the Patreon.
Click on the Patreon. Yes, $5 a month. For fuck's sake, what do you do with your life? It's fucking fantastic to have you on the podcast. That was a grand preamble of a waffle there now for 7 minutes.
It was, yeah.
Do you know what I mean? That just flew. But we do have a plan for this podcast.
And speaking of the little impromptu conversation in the kitchen there with the tea and the fag and the coffee, I've had a couple of those this week now. We went down to Newmarket, my hometown.
Mm-hmm.
On Saturday, went down to visit the local graveyard cemetery called Clonfert to pay respects to a departed brother, father,
Granduncle.
grandparents, and a few other lost souls from my childhood that I remember. Just pay respects.
Clonfert is such a bleak graveyard, isn't it? But bleak in a good way.
Yeah.
Do you know? Like I on Saturday now was a beautiful day, and when you just like you're looking at the graves, but then when you turn around, the island wood is there. So Dad always says, like, my father wants to get buried there. And he was like, that's where I want to be now, overlooking the island wood.
Yeah.
And like the island wood it's an amazing place, really.
Yeah, we did a tour that we went down there. We went up and drove around it.
Did you go down to the island wood?
Oh, we did, yeah.
Oh, sure, you had the right vehicle
But
as well.
that's where we used to DOS school. We used to play hooky from school.
There was a swimming pool there years ago and everything. Finbar
They
cracked his head in there one night.
Yeah, no, but that was just a swimming hole. That was part of the river.
Oh, was it?
They actually built a concrete structure next to the river, and the hopes was that the river would fill the man-made pool and would drain out the other side. Never quite worked. It was kind of a bit of
The engineering let them down.
The market engineering wasn't high standard that time.
There was some fella in the pub going, you know, I reckon it'd go out all right.
Yeah.
It'd go out all right, I'd say.
I'd say we'd get a couple of lads in the Olympics if we could get them to swim the pool in the wood.
But we were in so anyway, we there was all the family were down in Newmarket, and it was beautiful. It was really a beautiful day as well.
30 of the family members showed up, kids, grandkids, nephews, nieces, cousins, uncles, and aunts.
In-laws, outlaws. That was brilliant. It was brilliant. And then we went to Scans, which would have been a haunt for you.
Scans
for years.
Was a great place for a session back in the 70s and 80s.
Mm. And by all accounts, it's one of the thriving pubs still in Newmarket, you know.
It's one of the only few left, and it's actually in the throes of closing down. It'll be gone by the end of the year.
What?
Yeah, Scans is going to be
for fuck's
closing
sake.
down. So that'll leave about 2 pubs in the market
Jesus.
from a high of about 24.
What's happening to
in
the
the
fucking
heyday.
pubs of Ireland, man? That's That's terrible to hear that now.
I know, because Scans is a
An
really
institution.
traditional old school pub.
Yeah.
Lots of history there if the walls could talk.
I was just about to say, when I went in there, the young fella behind the bar, John, is Mick's young
Yeah,
fella.
John Scanlon.
And he's like, he's like a carbon copy of his dad, only a younger version, obviously,
Right.
like, you know. And
But has no real interest in running the pub. Evidently.
doesn't he? But then that's fair. Then, like, that's fair. It's just such a shame, though, isn't it? But so I completely understand. But we were all inside there anyway, and you had some friends from the past turn
I
up.
did. I had several friends now, people that lived in the same street as me, and then some friends that I went to school with who were living locally but within 5 mile radius. Or
Tell me about those friends and give me a kind of a sense for them and how they impacted your life.
One I really wanted to meet this time was Theo Moynihan. He's from Mealing, Rowles, which is up beyond Mealing, a little bit out in the country. But Theo and me went to school together in Boherbue, and we both ended up there from mitigating circumstances. I got kicked out of Coleman's and he got kicked out of another boarding school,
Right.
and we clashed heads.
Okay.
So we came together in Boherbue. So
A meeting of minds.
we had something in common at that point, and we became really good friends.
Yeah.
And he ended up going to the States too when I was there. And I met him over there a couple of times. He actually ended up working for a company that I worked for previously. And I had recommended him for there. So he got, there was that connection.
Yeah.
And Theo is a guy now who would take a bullet for you. He's just a really solid guy.
That's fucking
He
lovely.
brought his family with him, his wife and his 2 kids, which was the first time for me to meet him, but I'd heard about him and he's
Yeah.
talked about him before. And he was just really nice now,
And-
especially to meet in that setting.
Yeah. That made it extra special, like, because that's where
Oh,
you would
it
have
did,
been. You would have been in that setting so many times in the past,
Yeah.
just chewing the fat, having a few beers,
Yeah.
smoking a few fags.
And I wouldn't be much for sessions anymore now, but I ended up having about 6-7 beers.
Yeah.
And I swear to God, it threw me into that mindset that shut the doors to the pub, we're going to stay here all night.
Yeah. Yeah.
Let's start the sing-song.
Yeah. Oh, there was a good vibe there. There was a good atmosphere there, and it was great. It was buzzing. And you know, and I was saying it. I think I was saying it to Colette, or your sister, my aunt, saying that all, like, you have to celebrate life.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you have to celebrate the good times, and you coming home. Like, myself and Noel were only saying that, like, we didn't expect you to come home so soon after being home. Like, was it last year? Was it you were here again? Like,
It was a year and a half,
Year-
and that is 90th, so it's only a year and a half ago.
year and a half ago, and like,
Which are
isn't it
Yeah.
fucking fantastic?
2 years ago, Connie, I thought I'd never set foot in Ireland again.
Yeah.
I was really in that mindset,
Yeah.
and now I've been here twice since.
And how are you now? How are you feeling?
I'm good.
Yeah.
You know, I won't lie, it sucks not being able to walk
Yeah.
and
course.
being able to move around and do, just having control over holding a cup of tea.
Yeah.
But left hand is gone completely. I
Yeah.
still have full strength on my right side, so
Yeah.
at least I've got that,
Yes.
which I cherish, and try and keep strengthening every day. I do my own
Exercises.
home therapy stuff, exercising.
Yeah. And then you've got the podcast then for your mental health.
I do, yes. The podcast absolutely helps me every week. It's such a boost. And if it doesn't show up on Monday, I go to bed Monday night knowing that it's going to be there Tuesday morning.
I've got a text often from you if myself and Noel have been a little bit lax, we'll
Yeah.
say, going, where's the podcast? Where's the podcast? Like a text from fucking
But
Texas.
then when I get that notification and it's right there, it's like it's Christmas morning,
Oh yeah, well, fair play to you. Now, this has been a lovely podcast so far. Okay, guys, a very nice
dear
podcast
God.
so far, and we've reminisced.
Watch out.
We've talked about the past. We've talked about a lovely little conversation and sing song we had in the kitchen, and we talked about that. Like, is there anything else? Oh, just before we move on, actually, you're talking about Theo there. Cranky Dan was there.
Dan Fahey was a neighbour of mine. He lived on the Charver Road.
This guy is
just
hilarious.
a few houses down the street. But Dan is another real good friend. And, I saw him the last time I was back. And Dan loves getting out in the company and having a good time.
Yeah, they call him Cranky Dan for a reason. he's cantankerous, like.
Well, so they say.
Yeah.
Now, Dan, if you're listening to this, I don't think so. I think you're a fine lad.
Dan, if you're listening to this,
And I'd say your brother was a cranky one.
what's the John? Is it
Brian.
or Brian? Brian. Well, there you go. I
Or
think
they call him Lar. Nobody goes by their own name.
Lar.
Brian is just Lar.
And what was your nickname? Caesar, wasn't it?
Caesar was mine, but
My
got that in Coleman's actually.
my father was Sparky,
Yeah,
and
the bar.
the bar,
Nilo. No, it was Nilo.
Nilo, and
We had Jacko and the Prez.
the Prez,
And we had two-stroke.
two-stroke,
Crash Keefe.
Crash Keefe. Can I talk a small bit about the Prez? We won't give away who the president's
Right.
name is, right? We just
Right.
call him the Prez. So this was a character that was the president of your gang.
The U Club. No, he was. They were looking for somebody to be the president of the U Club in the market, the YMCA. And as a prank, we all put in the Prez, and he won the damn thing, and he became the president from that point on.
And what kind of a character was he? Was he kind of the leader of you when you were in your skullduggery days, like
Yes, he would have been one of the hards, as they say.
one of the hards? Yeah, and he goes down in folklore in some of the conversations at the kitchen table, especially
Oh,
when
he
Nana
does,
gets
yeah,
going.
yeah.
Like he broke your arm one year.
Well, he was there when it happened. I wouldn't blame him. I talked to him about it recently in the last 6 months,
Yeah,
and he denies.
he denies it.
but he acknowledges he was present.
He acknowledges he was the president, I'd say.
He was the president.
Okay, so listen, it would be absolutely remiss of me not to talk about politics with you on this podcast, considering that the world is debating left or right in America who's going to be the next president of America. Is it going to be Trump? Is it going to be
Camel.
Kamala? Not Camel Toe. Kamala. Is it going to be President racist Trump or
Oh,
or
well, I know.
or Kamala Harris? So just before we get going, I'm going to give you the floor, and I might ask you questions on your opinions. I'm not going to debate you because I think you're entitled, obviously, to your opinions.
Trump, not a racist.
Yeah.
Trump, not a racist.
Like, I do think a lot of your opinions are wrong. I'll say that, but I still think you're entitled to have. Everyone's entitled to have wrong opinions, you know. But
well, I don't appreciate that opinion.
but what I find fascinating is, like, I live in Ireland. I'm pro-Palestine. I
How did you fall into that trap?
we'll get into that now in a minute. And I would consider myself not left, but left of centre, and
I'd say you'd be a liberal, progressive liberal, probably.
progressive liberal. I would think something along those lines if you were to give me a title, right?
Right, but you don't like titles.
Well,
All the Democrats love putting people in titles, in boxes and
yeah,
in groups.
yeah. And I would put you then
They don't
on the
like
other side, right?
Right.
So if you were to put a title onto yourself, would you be like staunch Republican,
Hardcore Republican conservative.
hardcore Republican conservative? So what are your
thinks-
conservative
Who
values?
thinks Trump is the greatest thing that ever happened to American politics?
Yeah.
He's the quintessential. Is that the right say that right? American.
No, you've got me. It's hard word to
Yeah,
say, isn't it?
it is a tough
Quintessential.
word. Quintessential. That's it.
Yeah.
American success story.
Yeah. Well, he's a success story, but sure didn't he inherit all his money?
No, he didn't. He got a leg up from his dad's business.
Oh,
was
yeah.
in real
What did his
estate.
dad give him?
I think he started him out with a mill.
Yeah.
But he turned
The
it
leg
into
up.
a $10 billion empire.
Yeah.
You know, that's not.
Yeah, it's a lot easier to do it from a mill than from zero, I suppose. Here's a mill.
Built the
And a mill then back in the day is probably worth, 15, 20 mil. Like.
global empire that he's got.
So that's but anyway, that's Trump. What are your what does conservative mean in that title?
I mean, you'd have to go to certain policies or certain beliefs, I guess. Like, I believe that the Americans have the right to bear arms. Second Amendment would be that's a big game changer for me. Like, if there's
That's the good law.
a candidate that's anti-Second Amendment, I'm automatically on the other side of the fence.
Okay.
That would throw me off.
And what's the fascination with guns then? What's that like? Why? Because we don't have that in Ireland.
Yeah, but you have.
Do you think it should be in Ireland?
You have the point. It's just culture. You grow up with it.
Okay.
Just about it, especially in the flyover states, as they call them, the Midwest and out west. I mean, owning a gun was part of childhood. That was like getting your first bike under the Christmas tree. You got your first gun when you were 8 or 9 years old. Then you go out hunting with your dad, or you go to the range. You're shooting for a pastime, kind of like golf almost. It's just another pastime.
And it's hard for me to hear that and go, oh, that's normal. But I suppose if you're brought up with it, it is fucking normal. It is normal. Some people might say, Jesus, bringing your kids out to play hurling and like a shtick and baiting each other with it is not normal. But like, I think that's normal. Or going to the pub like all our kids were at the pub the other day.
Right.
In parts of America, they'd be like, absolutely no way would we bring kids into a pub.
And you can't.
Whereas it's normal here. So like, I'm trying to be open-minded here when you're saying it's cultural, and I do get that. But like, it's just hard to see beyond the shootings. Like, it's hard to see beyond.
And there is the fair share of mass shootings and school shootings and all that stuff, and that's horrible.
It is,
of course, but the left automatically jumps on it's a gun issue.
Okay.
And the right goes, no, it's a mental issue. It's a mental health issue. All these people that commit these horrendous crimes usually have some mental health issues in the background somewhere.
That's a common denominator. Yeah. And that's a point. That's a very valid point. But I could see both points. I could see it's still if they have mental health problems and there's no guns, they're not going to be able to go in and kill 300 people. Do you know? That's the counter argument for having the no guns. But look, anyway, that's neither here nor there.
But the reason we have the Second Amendment is to combat tyranny by the government.
Now I'm interested in this now.
Which, all governments eventually become tyrannical once they have total control over the population.
Do you think there could be a chance of some sort of a mutiny if he doesn't get through? If
No.
You don't think so?
No.
Because you can hear the sensational journalism over here going, America's on the brink.
Yes,
if Trump doesn't get through,
it's been on the brink
Republicans
for
are going to
decades.
rise up.
No, that's
Is that bollocks?
total load of bollocks.
Is it? Okay. No, because that kind of shit, you'd see it on TikTok and you'd be like, fuck it.
No, there is.
Goes into your own blood, then like.
A huge divide. There's definitely a huge divide. And we like to say there's people out there that say they're independents. And we look at them and say, you're just lying to yourself. And some of the commentators on radio would ask questions and say, we'll find out exactly what side you're on here now. How do you feel about abortion, or how do you feel about gun rights, or that type?
Yeah.
And you'll find out pretty quick where they lean.
Yeah.
So if you're independent, you're really only lying to yourself.
You think so?
Yeah.
Tell me this. Now, obviously, you're living in Dallas,
right,
in Texas, and Texas is a Republican
stronghold. Absolutely, yes.
So all your propaganda, aka news, is going to lead and bleed red. Whereas if I was in, give me a Democratic state, Washington,
California would be the standout one. Yeah,
yeah, very liberal. And they'd bleed blue up there, and all their propaganda, aka news, would be leaning towards that. With that in mind, how do you think that Trump is going to get through? Do you think Trump is going to be the next president?
do, and I mean I have to be completely honest. If he doesn't, we're in deep shit. Because Camel Toe is a complete left-wing radical. Worse than Obama was.
How is she worse than Obama?
Worse than Biden. Sleepy Joe.
Sleepy Joe. Tell me how Kamala is worse than Sleepy Joe. How is she like that's a freaking bold enough statement there.
She's for amnesty for all the illegals and I'll tell you what, the immigration is the number one talking point now, or debate point
Yeah.
everywhere. I mean, it's just the number one on everybody's mind. We're being flooded by illegal immigrants, and
But weren't you an illegal immigrant in America?
I was.
Well, like, what would happen if it was now you were trying to get in? You know, you never would have met Deb. You never would have had the life you had. Do you know what I mean? There was loads of Irish. This is my point on it. Is like, I obviously you have to try and vet as best as you possibly can, but like,
And that's a big part of it. The vetting isn't happening.
you know, and that is a big part of it. But like, our Irish people have gone all over the globe. Look at your nephew Neil there now.
Oh, yeah,
you know,
and they're fine. He's working away, and he's got
yeah,
his proper visas.
yeah,
I mean, I got into the States legally.
yeah.
Had a proper visa.
And you're talking about kicking your type out now, and you're in there. Isn't you see the irony in that? Like,
I don't, because
Okay.
I went in there to assimilate. I went in there to become as American as I could, as quick as I could.
okay,
Whereas a lot of the immigrants these are not assimilating. They're trying to create their own microcultures
okay,
inside, and they're not. And plus, there's just so many of them, they're overwhelming the system.
mm.
Like the schools can't handle it, the healthcare, and Cameron's offered give them free healthcare. They should have all. So they're like getting ahead of the normal immigrant that wants to do it the right way.
Yeah, okay.
They're jumping the queue, in other words, and
And
they're
there's
like
there's
sheep
anecdotal evidence of this. Like, is there like actual? Like, I don't know. I suppose I'm not qualified to talk.
and in the Democrats as well.
A lot of, like, I just see it in.
Look at them as future votes. So they're for the voter rolls, and they're doing Texas now. The Democrats are, they're trying to register illegal immigrants to vote in this election. They say there could be up to 7 million illegals, which you can't vote when you're illegal. Like, I had to become a citizen to vote, and I couldn't vote till the day I raised my hand and pledged allegiance to the United States and all that good stuff, and got my certificate, and then I could vote legally. And before that, it was illegal for me to vote.
Right. Okay.
But the Democrats want all these illegals in so they can eventually figure out how to get the votes.
I don't know. So is it close? Is it like?
It's closer than it should be.
Because like when Sleepy Joe was in, it was like there was
Trump
a landslide ahead, wasn't
yeah.
he? And now this girl has come in, and
I don't think the country is ready to lurch that far to the left.
well, I think they're both terrible candidates. To be honest, myself, that's my own personal opinion. I think they're both. I think Trump is power hungry. I think he'll try and turn the whole place into a dictatorship,
Yeah.
and that he has.
That's ridiculous. What evidence do you have of that?
But sure, just same evidences that you have there that immigrants are coming over and being signed up by Democrats. It's anecdotal. Do you know what I mean? It's the same evidence. Like, none of us have actual physical evidence. They're all opinions, and it's like from looking from the outside in and just looking from a different country. He's definitely going to be terrible for the Palestinians. He's going to be terrible for Ireland. He's going to be pulling out all the big employers in the country to bring them back into the States.
He's just bringing the money. I mean, the
And
jobs will stay there.
I will say this for him, right? That's actually, if I was there, that's something that I would be trying to encourage anyway.
And that's what
it is bad, and I think that is good.
I'm proud of him for that, because he's putting America first, which every leader of every country should put their own country first. Whereas Biden and Obama...
And is it Israel second then with him, is it?
No.
Like, I don't know.
I don't think... and if you know, during his first term, there was no new wars when Trump was president. There was peace in the Middle East, and he had different countries talking. Israel was talking with Yemen.
There hasn't been peace in the Middle East
I know, but there was no wars at the time. But once he lost, and Biden, Sleepy Joe took over. War in Ukraine, Russia, war in frickin' Israel.
And
Whereas I truly believe if Trump had got his second, if he wasn't cheated out of his second term.
do you think the election was rigged?
Oh, there's no doubt about it in my mind.
Really?
Yeah.
What's the story there? What's the rhetoric there from the Republicans?
It's voting with the Democrats. They muddy the waters so much that there's a lot of illegal ballots, and there's ballot harvesting, they call it, and
they were doing that. So in your opinion, the Democrats were actually tampering with.
I have absolutely no doubt in my mind that they did, and they're starting to do it again in this one.
So that's my thing. That's my question to you: is if they did it and got away with it, right? They'll
Why
then they'll
would
do.
they stop? Yeah.
Why would you stop?
Yeah.
And if and then this is my thing: is if Kamala gets through and Trump doesn't get through, like I can't see him lying down and taking it. Like I'm just wondering, is there like a bubbling behind? Is there like a little kind of IRA kind of
Civil War type?
like little
thing
secret cell, Fight Club underground vibes?
There are several militia groups. Around the country that absolutely would take up arms for Trump if they had to.
Jesus. And that, but sure, there's no.
There's the Proud Boys and there's the oath keepers.
The Proud Boys.
Proud Boys but they're actually more akin to white supremacy and that type of stuff,
Okay.
which Trump gets, accused of, which is total bullshit.
Is it?
And the oath keepers then are just patriots in their own right.
And yeah. So they are the guys that would be taking up the arms. I don't know. I suppose they'd be taken out fairly quickly with the weapons that you have.
Yeah.
You know.
That's why we have the Second Amendment, so we can fight back against tyranny.
And
we're under threat of tyranny from the Democrats more so than the Republicans, because they're all about control, and they're controlling free speech. And they got Trump banned from Twitter.
He's back on Twitter.
He's back, and he formed his own social media as well.
Yeah, but that's kind of an echo chamber, though, isn't it?
Oh,
I mean, like that's like when we were talking in the pub there the other day. You were like, "Oh, I don't know if I want to talk about politics because I'm pro-Israel, I'm a Republican," and I was like, "But that's exactly what I want. I don't want to talk to someone who has the same opinion of me."
Right.
Because it's interesting. Because I'm not saying any of your opinions are wrong, because as I said earlier on, neither you or I have.
Well, and you're not going to change them.
And I'm not going to change. I'm in garages with you now for fucking 25 years, listening to you going on. I know I'm not going to change your mind at this stage of the races, but it's still fascinating for me to hear a complete different opinion that is not for changing. Give me your stance on Israel and the Palestinian and Lebanon conflicts genocides that are going on as we speak.
Interesting word, genocide, because if you ask my opinion, Israel is the one under constant threat of genocide by all its neighbours. Every one of them want Israel wiped off the map.
The state of Israel.
Yes, everyone from Lebanon, and they're all tied in with terrorist groups like Hamas.
But it's
and
not
Hezbollah.
It's not their land. That's the thing. Like it's
the
not.
State of Israel was formed in 1949.
Correct. It was Palestine before that, and then.
Are you sure?
Yeah. And it was Britain gave it to them. Britain had it colonized, and gave it to them for them to set up their state, and America backed it, and they've built what is now Israel there, and it's a Zionist. They think it's their land, like they think it's their land, but they came in and took it from Palestinians. So if someone came into your house and started living in your bedroom, and was aggressively putting you out of your land, you'd fight back. Like
there was a Palestinian country at one. I don't think there was.
No, there was.
I'd have to get some more proof on that one.
It was never Israel until 1948 or
capitulated with the Palestinians for decades now.
But it was never their land anyway, is what I'm trying to say to you, irrespective of whose land it was, right? It was never their land. And if someone comes in and takes your land, you're going to try and get them out by whatever means you can, and they're disproportionately murdering thousands of women and babies.
Another word I don't like, disproportion. What is the proper proportion?
None.
None. So no retaliation at all.
No women and babies be killed. That's that.
Okay.
Did
Hamas think that?
How much money have they got? How much money have Israel got that they can't send in forces to try and minimize? Let their army be killed. Let soldiers be killed in the war. Don't be coming along dropping bombs and into hospitals because there's apparently.
You should tell them not to use the human shields or use public.
They're defending their own land. They're defending their own. It's like Newmarket, man. That's there, and Kanturk are coming over, and they're like, that's ours. It's not. Fuck off.
Did an incursion on October 7th and killed innocent Israeli babies. Burned babies in front of their moms and dads.
Yeah.
Horrific terroristic things, which they do. And
Have you seen any of the? Have you like this disproportionate, right? So for every small little thing that you're seeing there, you can multiply it by hundreds. What's been happening?
And
So what happened with Hamas there in October? What date was it? Noel, was it October 7th?
yeah,
Was completely wrong when they went in there, and it was terrible. It was terrible what they did. It was fucking horrendous, Mike, and I 100% agree. It was horrendous, and it was shocking, horrific, wrong, bad, evil. I'll go so far as say it is evil.
right.
100%. Okay? And Hamas are responsible for that. Right? And I fucking would never condone that. But what has happened since? 40,000 people, more than 40,000 people. Most of them are women and children who have fucking nothing to do with it.
Well, there's going to be collateral damage in every war. And you know what? I'll go back to my old adage: don't poke the bear if you don't want the claws.
Don't come into the land that isn't yours in the first place. What are you going to do? You can't.
Well, then we'd all be stuck in Africa. No, we'd have never left there.
Anyway, you're not for changing, and I love you. I love you, brother. All right.
Yeah.
But like, free Palestine, free Lebanon.
And I'm glad that Israel has the military might to be able to respond to several different instances at the same time now that Hezbollah's start to. And Iran is the big demon in the area,
They're not.
supplying everybody with, supplying all the terrorists.
You're the demon. America and England, you're the bad guys.
You sound like a terrorist.
You're
I'm
the
just
bad
saying
guys.
We're the what is the big Satan, and Israel's the little Satan or something they call.
I would say you're about the same size of a Satan.
I'm just glad they've got a well equipped. The Iron Dome is an absolute miracle.
It's supposed to do. It
Technology.
just like stops rockets from coming in. Some still get in though.
Some, but they can take out hundreds at a time.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. We'll sashay ever so gently off that topic, that heated topic, and it was very interesting to hear
Well,
your
we
points.
didn't get to Ukraine or Russia and Putin and Kim Jong Un and
We'll have to get to them the next time.
Xi Jinping.
Yeah.
Ping
He's
pong
you're,
king.
you're pro. He's you're pro. Your man in North Korea as well, are you?
No, I think China is the actual
China.
is the biggest threat to world peace at the moment.
Oh, there's a lot. It's very interesting because it's all a fucking Game of Thrones. The whole thing is a Game of Thrones. What's happening here? Careful, what's happening? Like, oh, look, what's happening here? But what's happening over here? While this big thing is happening over here, there's loads of distractions going on.
Yeah.
But it's like, listen, neither you or I are definitely not going to be able to solve it. We'll finish the podcast on sports, right? So you're a huge sports fan, right? And I talk about sports on the podcast.
I watch everything
Yeah.
from ping pong and bowling, play and darts to soccer, American football. You name it, I watch it. Cycling, anything.
And
Olympics were just on.
what team do you support? Soccer team?
So I'm a Man United fan.
Manchester
Have
United.
been since I became sports conscious at about 8 years old, and it was right around the time when George Best got signed by United.
Yeah.
I think that was the first United game I ever saw on TV. Was a George Best. I still have it in black and white, in my head, of him dribbling down the pitch all the way down and round the goalie, a couple of defenders, and scoring a goal after running the length of the pitch with the ball. Georgie Best.
So Man United would be a love, but would I be right in saying that the Dallas Cowboys would probably be a greater love?
Close second.
Is it a close second?
The soccer would be number one. I mean,
Okay.
I'll stop
Brilliant.
down to watch United, whereas I would occasionally miss a Cowboy game.
Yeah.
No, not by choice, but by circumstance, maybe.
Yeah. Okay. And so give me. And so when I was over with you, it was basketball we were watching a lot of.
Right.
But I remember Dirk Nowitzki, another immigrant, but anyway, whatever. You know.
7-foot German.
And but I remember you talking to me about football days, and the Cowboys were playing this weekend.
They were playing last night,
And how did they get on?
or yesterday. They actually laid an egg. It was a
What's that mean?
terrible. It means they didn't show up. They lost.
Oh, right. Okay.
And lost big time. One of the biggest losses in their history. 47-9.
47-9.
An ass whooping.
And like Super Bowl Sunday, what's
Mhm.
that like?
It's great. It's almost, it's considered a kind of a holiday, even though there's no day off because it's on a Sunday.
Yeah.
And everybody, there's barbecues, everybody gets together. There's always Super Bowl parties. Every second house is having a Super Bowl party.
It doesn't matter what team is in, you'll go and watch the Super Bowl anyway. Like,
and you know what? A lot of the Super Bowl viewers are there to watch the commercials, because commercials during the Super Bowl
are like movies.
Yeah, and I think they're like $20 million every 30 seconds for a 30-second spot.
Jesus, I wonder would they do a Cocoa Club one?
Well,
How much?
Have you got that kind of cash?
No, I don't. But look, think of the exposure they'd have. You know, I'd shout them out in the podcast as well.
And that's it. I mean, they get well over 1 billion viewers, I think, or thereabouts.
Oh.
The whole country shuts down for it.
The whole country shuts down for the Super Bowl Sunday, and it's beers and it's wings and it's all things American.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Queso and a lot of finger foods, you know, just for during the game.
Delicious.
Tacos maybe or something like that.
Tacos. Oh,
love the tacos.
Fucking hell, man! The food in America, like when I was over with you, my God.
I think if I move back to Ireland, you know, in the last 20 years, I'd definitely go back just to have another taco. Yeah. I'd make a flight just to go back for some Mexican food.
The fucking the food is just, oh my God.
Even though they're flooding in with illegal immigrants, but I'll take their tacos.
Oh yeah, okay. There you go now. That's about as racist as you can get, and you know, that's
not a racist. Father Tate,
Mm-hmm.
not a racist. Do you want to hear the greatest racist joke I ever heard in my life?
No, I don't. I definitely don't.
It's only a one-liner, but it's not. It's bad actually, because it's got slave connotations and stuff.
Don't. I definitely don't want to hear that on the podcast.
I think your viewers would love it.
I don't think they would. I don't think they'd appreciate it, and I don't want.
I'll tell you a secret after we're done.
You can tell me afterwards, and I'll tell you that's wrong.
Yeah, I'll probably be thanking him that he didn't let me move forward with it here.
But it's like you've now become my old racist uncle. Uncle Mackle. Anyway, listen, I love you so much, man. I'm so happy to spend time with you, and Mike is the most wonderful human being you could ever meet, guys. He's an amazing father, an amazing husband. He's so kind and generous. All right, players. Thank you so much for listening. And we will see you all soon. We'll see you next week. Love you all. Staying by the wall.
See you in another year and a half.
Definitely.
If you're enjoying this podcast and want to support the channel, check out Cornelius's Patreon, where you can get some more exclusive content. Link is in the description.